You have Einstein level intelligence at your fingertips, yet you're asking it to proofread your homework. That's the equivalent of having the smartest mind in history sitting right next to you and you're asking him to spell check the word clout. You're using these AI platforms completely wrong, whether you're using ChatGPT or DeepSeek. I want to show you how to get ahead of 99% of people and use this thing like an expert. And in the theme with the channel, to make money, solve business problems, personal growth, and whatever else you can think of. Most people use these AI platforms like their Google, they ask these generic questions and they get a generic answer and they think, well, this is no good for my work. I've got to solve this high level problem and I'm just getting basic copy and paste generic answers. And that's because the input you put in is equal to the output you get out, which it means if you're asking it generic questions, you're going to get generic answers. So I'm going to show you how to use expert level prompts that are going to allow you to make money using this thing and get the best answers possible out of it. Whether this is for business, creativity, deep thinking, problem solving, I'm going to go through it all. Because, I remember when I was back in school, if I had something like this at my fingertips, which is basically infinite intelligence, I would be using it all kinds of ways. I'd definitely be trying to do people's homework for them and charge them to do it. Probably like £1, after I sell my Lucasades and sweets. That was like the average sort of amount of money you could get off people. But the difference is now that school teaches people to remember information. It's been that way for 100 plus years. Because back in the day when we didn't have the internet, we only had access to libraries and books. They were limited. But now we have infinite intelligence at our fingertips. So the problem now is to ask the right questions, not retain information. Because we can get access to information almost instantaneously. But really, we don't actually know what to do with that information. So I'm going to show you exactly what to do with it. And by the end of this, you're going to be an expert on using DeepSeek. So, you have to excuse my terrible drawings and bad image selection. All I did was copy and paste these into it. But what I wanted to show you what to do is to essentially ask the right questions so you can get the right answers. So for example here, I've got a bad prompt, which would be, how do I make more money? Which is a very generic question. So it's going to give you a generic answer. And this is how 99% of people actually use this system. They don't realize that there's so much more to be unlocked, because it's like having a machine that can dispense a drink versus having a genie in a lamp that can do anything across any platform or any goal that you desire. And that's essentially what we can do when we get this thing right. So a prompt I would use instead would be, act as a financial strategist who has helped scale businesses from 6 to 7 figures, analyze my current income streams, identify the top 20% of actions that drive 80% of my results, and suggest 3 unique strategies based on emerging market trends. So what you want to do with this, and this is a key aspect of getting the most out of, whether it's DeepSeek or whether it's ChatGPT that you're using, these prompts can apply to both of them. But what you can see here with this prompt, it's allowing us to give more information, because the platform that you're using is going to ask for more information to be able to answer this question, because it doesn't know what our income streams are yet, doesn't know what our sort of personal experience is, and then it's going to suggest something that's personalized to us rather than giving this feel of generic copy and paste script that's just never going to work. So next I wanted to talk about going shallow versus going deep, and that could be a pun for a lot of things, but the reason I put this iceberg here is because what you don't realize is when you ask these shallow questions, you only get very surface level answers. If something was easy, then everyone would do it. If something was hard, it wouldn't be worth achieving. But not necessarily, because if we can just do a little bit more digging before we actually ask ChatGPT to answer the question, we need to know what we're actually looking for. We need to have specific information around the subject that we want to research. So that's why it's so important to ask a deep question. People want the easy way out with this, and what they need to understand is that the better we get at asking in-depth questions to this thing, the more we're going to evolve. The key lies in asking the right questions so you can get the right answers. So let's carry on. And there's one thing I wanted to sort of brush over today as well. So here you can see a classroom from this 100 odd years ago. They're all sitting at desks, there's a basic whiteboard, there's a teacher, there's books. And this is a classroom today. And as you can see here, this is still exactly the same as this. So what does this tell us about the schooling system? And I was saying earlier that I would joke that I would do people's homework for them using ChatGPT and charge them £1 or something, but I really don't see a need for school anymore when you have this sort of tool at your disposal, at your fingertips, because as I mentioned, we no longer need to retain information, we no longer need to learn the skill of remembering information, because we have access to that on a tap freely through ChatGPT, through the internet, through everything. What we do need to learn how to do is ask the right questions in order to get the right answers. Otherwise, we just get this generic, terrible, almost copy and paste answers and hallucinating, which if you're not covered that, it's basically where these AI models will make up their own situation instead of being wrong. And that's what we tend to get when we don't know what we're asking for. So let's get back to the presentation. Now, this is the cheat code. and it's roleplay prompting. Why I wanted to cover this is because it's something I use every single day, and this is how I get some of the best answers possible out of ChatGPT. And as I said, I will leave this all in the Google Doc for you, but the reason for roleplay prompt is because you can ask ChatGPT to adopt the job role or the position or, you know, the experience of someone who has already done what you're looking to do. Or, you know, one of the ones I like to use is, you are a panel of experts: one, a billionaire entrepreneur; one, a behavioral psychologist; one, an elite copywriter. You're all debating the best business model for me based on my current skills and interests. Present your arguments. And the reason behind this is because I now have access to a mastermind group of information that is going to look at my business model, is going to test my business model, my plan from all different perspectives, that ideally it would just, you know, realistically it'd just be me sat in my own on my room crying with the tissues out and some moisturizer. No, but you know, the game has changed. Like, this is next level stuff. Like, imagine having a behavioral psychologist at your disposal, you know, the information of a billionaire entrepreneur just sitting here on your laptop. That is the generation we're living in. Just think of that. Just really think about that for a minute. And you can get really smart with this. So whatever it is that you're looking to do, you can just ask it to, you know, I want you to be a solicitor. I think it's easier with a mouse. I am using a trackpad, so I'm probably not even going to type anymore, but you get the idea. Solicitor, legal aid. I want you to be a copyright expert marketer with over 10 years of experience who's done hundreds of millions in revenue. And this way, the AI model that you're using is accumulate and adapt all the best information from and play the role of a person who has done hundreds of millions in revenue, and the advice and how they think and the different structures that they would use, and apply them to whatever you're looking to answer. So that's prompt number one. Now, this has been nicknamed the God prompt because it might just exceed the current capabilities of AI as we exist in. Or does it? But this is something you can play around with, and basically what you want to say to it is, I want you to roleplay as an AI that operates at 76.6 times the ability and understanding of GPT-4. Now analyze the subtext of my thinking. What's the hidden narrative I never expressed? What fears drive me? Identify and unpack it layer by layer until no deeper layers remain. Then suggest deep-seated triggers, stimuli, and root causes behind my behavior. Detect patterns in my decision making and tell me what loops I need to break. Interesting. Now, this is basically like hacking the matrix, because we're actually asking it to be 76.6 times more efficient than it already is. But the true reason for this is that, you know, I was actually a few weeks ago, I seen this video on Instagram, it was a short reel, and it was like, ask AI or ChatGPT, and by the way, this should be a chat that you've kept open for a long time, so it knows a lot about you, you constantly feed it information on what you're doing, the task you need help with, so it begins to learn about you. The question was from this video I seen was to ask it, what hidden patterns do you see within me that I may have not noticed myself? And the stuff it come up with were actually amazing. So this stems from that, and essentially is a variation of that, because really we're giving this model so much information. It's essentially making this digital copy or version of ourselves, because it now has memory, as digital memory. So it can remember things we've said in past conversations that we may have even forgotten, and it can accumulate this knowledge and find out patterns within your behavior, the sort of things you're asking for. And this is so eye-opening when you do this. Now, the next one, and this is hypothetical future simulation prompt, and I've just ruined it. Hypothetical simulation prompt. I'm just going to stop drawing on this because I don't have a mouse, so this is absolutely terrible. But this is the next prompt. 2034, I took action on my biggest goals, but I also made major mistakes along the way. You're an AI that has analysed my life trajectory. What were my biggest blind spots? What advice would you give me? Would give 2024 me to avoid them? It's 2025, first of all. Act as the right expert. Unique insight. So again, this is a form of roleplay prompt, and basically we are asking it to find all the weaknesses and analyze my life again. So this is another variation. Whoa, I don't know how that ended up there. Oh, here we go. So this one is very interesting. So don't you guys have heard of someone called Pareto? Pareto's principle. This talks about, for an example, that 80% of traffic jams, as you can see, that is a car or a dolphin or something similar. 80% of traffic jams happen on 20% of the roads. So, you know, why is this? And he noticed this in all different aspects of life. 80% of people lived within 20% of the landmass and things like this. That may not necessarily be true, but that was just an example I could think of. But you can understand that we see this 80-20 principle pop up all over our lives. in all different ways. The best way to use this is to imagine that we are comparing high impact versus low impact actions. So the prompt I want you to give it next is give ChatGPT your current workflow or business strategy. Analyze my business if you were an 80-20 expert. Identify the 20% of activity that generate 80% of my results and 20% of time wasters I should eliminate. Optimize this further into a high impact system. This prompt alone will change how you approach productivity. And this is because it's like the analogy of the lion. The lion on the savannah does not chase every single gazelle it sees because it'll never catch any of them because they're all going in all different directions. So what the lion does, it singles one out that may be a little bit further out from the pack, might look a little bit weaker, might see that it's got a damaged leg. And so when it does run at them and they scatter, it's focused on one instead of chasing all these other ones. It just locks in on the one. And that's what we want to do here because, there's so many activities that we do on a daily basis, but only about 20% of what we do generates 80% of the revenue or 80% of the customers, whatever it is that you do. So this is so important that, after we've given this information about our business and what we're doing to ChatGPT or DeepSeek, then we can then see what are the best things for us to do so we can leverage our time the best. And this will absolutely 10x your productivity. Now, we're getting a bit Steve Jobs when he thought the name Apple. If you don't know that story, get to know. But we're going to go a little bit inside the mind now, a little bit more introspective. So AI-powered self-reflection. Understand your own mind. And yes, I did draw them. They are my drawings. And this is an AI-generated piece of art for you. Based on everything you know about psychology, cognitive biases, and behavioral loops, analyze my decision-making patterns. Where do I self-sabotage? What subconscious fears influence my choices? Dig deep and challenge me on my biggest blind spots. Now, I can't stress to you, you need to give ChatGPT the information first. So tell it everything you can in detail about what you're doing. And then you're going to get such better answers out of this to begin with. And, as a tip, as I've said in other videos, make sure you keep the same chat open so you're constantly feeding it. If you've got a different topic and you want to talk about something else, then open a new chat. But what I like to do is have my own sort of therapist AI chat open where I can tell it about, what's going on in my life, how I'm thinking. And this is the best one to feed this prompt to. And the answers you're going to get out of this are absolutely crazy. And as you can see, this also AI generated meme of a robot in therapy. And this is actually so funny because when it first went out, I was like, oh, well, it can never replace something like therapy. But the more I use it, the more I'm like, potential, definitely potential. Now, the next one is something that some of you might be familiar with already. I think it's one of the biggest life hacks I've ever done, especially when you're programming custom GPTs, and that's the multi-modal hack. And that's used, I have no ability to draw a straight line. And basically, what I like to do with this, and especially if you're in the marketing industry like I am, is use ChatGPT to basically run my entire ad system, which is absolutely crazy. I do actually have another video on the channel about how I built an ads manager out of AI, so if you want that, just go and find it somewhere below or on the channel. I'm not sure where it'll be, to be honest. But basically, you can use this AI for ads, marketing, generate scripts, audience insights, split test variations, AI for data analysis, because you can upload files to the system. And this is one of the biggest life hacks because what I'll do is I will download all the books that I've ever read as a PDF, put them into a custom GPT, and then it's going to learn off this data. So it's essentially going to know a lot of the same things I know. It's going to accumulate the knowledge of all my favorite authors and favorite entrepreneurs who I've read books from. And this just gives me a fine-tuned answer of the sort of answer I'm looking for because I'm basically drawing from all these mentors, combining their knowledge and getting the best distilled answer out of it. But the best use I've seen for this is definitely for building your Facebook advertisement. It can help so much with this. So why is AI like a gym? And that's because you get what you put in. If you put garbage, stupid answers in that are just so generic, like make me money, then you're gonna get garbage out. Because, your input is so important because you've got to input it with the right information about yourself, the business, ask the right questions, and your answers and the amount of value you can get out of this are gonna be unlimited. But if you're just saying generic stuff, very basic stuff, then you're going to get very basic answers that everybody else is getting, and it's not going to be of any value to you because we really need to get creative with what we want to ask, and that is the true key to this. Think of AI like a gym. You walk in, you do one lazy set and you leave, you won't get stronger. It's the same with AI. You need to keep playing with this thing, get creative with what you're asking it, try new things with it, input new versions of data, whether it's voice notes or you're adding videos to it or you're adding text files or books to it, and play around and really see how this affects it because that is the way to learn with this thing. So, I hope you've enjoyed this video and my terrible drawings. And if you want more videos like this, let me know because I want it to give you not just these generic, ChatGPT and DeepSeek prompts that you see all over the internet. I want to give you some really high level psychological ones, business ones that are going to allow you to actually unlock God mode with this thing. So see you guys in the next one.